My name is Gemma, and welcome to our 6-acre family farm in southwest Cornwall. It's a space where we can connect with nature and enjoy the seasons. For the past 4 summers, I've been working to transform a pony paddock into a productive cut flower garden. I want to share my year with you, from working in the cutting garden to creating seasonal flower arrangements for the house. So it's the middle of January, which means we're also halfway through winter. And although January can be a very cold, dark, wet and muddy month, actually I find it quite a therapeutic month. It's a month when I can rest and there's no pressure from the garden, because everything is sleeping. Nature is dormant. My soil in my cut flower garden is cold, which means that there's very little that I can do at this time of year outdoors. For the rest of the year, when the weather is bad, you still have to go outside and you still have to work in the bad weather. But in January, you can pick and choose your days a little bit. But that doesn't mean that I'm not doing anything to do with the garden in January. It's the time when I'm laying the foundations for the year ahead. So I'm ordering seeds and I draw out a large drawing of the garden and all the plants that are in it. And then I look at where I can add in all of the seeds that I need to sow this year. And then I make a large sowing schedule of all the seeds that need to be sown and when, so that when February rolls around and it's longer days, I know exactly what I'm sowing and on what days and when, because February is a really, really busy month. It's the start of the new growing year for me. So for the time being, I'm enjoying these quieter days. There's still plenty to do on the farm. I do lots of physical jobs in the winter months because it keeps you warm and also because it's the best time to do it. You don't want to be doing lots of physical things in the summer months when it's really hot. So winter is a tidying time, but January, there is no pressure. There's no point battling against the elements when you don't have to. So for the time being, I'm just enjoying dreaming about summer and planning how I'm going to get there. I think Ludo wants his walk. Should we go and have a walk? Yeah, should we go and have a walk? down to one of my favourite beaches. This is Gunwallow, and I've seen oyster catchers. I've never seen oyster catchers on Gunwallow Beach before, so that's really, really special to see them. This is an amazing beach. It's some days it's rock and some days it's sand, and you never know what you're going to get. The tide here is really, really strong. So because of that, quite often the sand is washed away from the beach and you're just left with layers and layers and layers of rock. And then other days you come back and the sand has all come back and it's just a really sandy beach. It's a really changeable place and I love it. Welcome to the potting shed. It's my first time showing you our potting shed, and this is probably not the tidiest potting shed you'll ever find, but it's very well used. It's the absolute heart of the cut flower garden. It's where I spend a lot of time in spring, sowing seeds, pricking out, potting on. So it's a busy place, especially in the springtime. Today I've come up here to plant out some ranunculus corms. Ranunculus is one of my favourite cut flowers, with their beautiful ruffly petals flowering in the springtime. We've already got some ranunculus planted out in the polytunnel, but this particular sowing is going to be giving me some later blooms in around kind of May time. So I unpackaged the ranunculus this morning and I put it into some water to soak. And the ranunculus, when it's dry, they're quite withered and almost dead looking. So they've now plumped up beautifully. You can see they're funny looking little things. But they've now soaked up some of that water and they are ready to plant into the soil. So I like to pre-sprout all of my ranunculus. I set it into a seed tray like this with some compost and I layer them all out, and this then gets popped into the polytunnel where they're a little bit protected from the weather, and I also lift them up nice and high so that the mice can't get them, because mice do love to eat a ranunculus corm. And I wait for a couple of weeks until they send up some nice green shoots and they put down some roots. And then I lift them out of this tray and pot them on until I'm ready to plant them in their final place. So we've put up this hanging rail. Can see it's actually hanging from roof rack straps, and it's just a scaffold board, but because it's got no legs underneath it, there's nothing for any pests or little rodents to climb up. So everything that's on this hanging rail is completely safe. That things like our ranunculus are not going to get eaten by mice, and things like my plants over here, my seedlings, are not going to get eaten by slugs. So it's this is kind of a safe zone, and it's really a really important space for bringing things on like the ranunculus. I'm putting together a little arrangement for the house, and I really want it to reflect what's going on in the garden right now. So we have a lot of dead seed heads, there's bare twigs, and there's also some flowers coming through. So we've got some viburnum tinus that's flowering. So I want to make an arrangement for the house for the weekend that's really kind of reflecting what's going on in the garden right now. So I'm arranging everything into a mantle vase. I love to use a mantle vase because I find them really kind of structurally very good. They're kind of they're quite nice and narrow. It's really easy to kind of fit an arrangement into it. It also obviously fits really well on the middle of a table, but also on the mantelpiece. And I filled it with some chicken wire, and there's also a metal pin frog in the bottom too, so that it all kind of holds where I want to place it. So this is viburnum tinus, which comes in two colours. It comes with a pink, or it also comes in a white, and it's about the first thing that flowers out of all the shrubs in the garden. Another of my favourite at this time of year, cardoons. They've got this amazing colour. So these leaves become huge when we get a little bit warmer weather, but as the new shoots emerge, they've got this fabulous colour. These are also edible. How gorgeous are these? These are the seed heads of the Japanese anemone, and they're like little cotton wool puffs once the seed heads explode open in the warm weather. Grasses are so important in the garden in the winter, and these are miscanthus, and I love the way that they pick up the light. These have definitely got to be included. I think I'm finished. It's not your typical flower arrangement, but it definitely reflects what's going on in January at the moment, and what I'm seeing outside in the garden. The flowering shrubs, the very first narcissi coming through. We've got seed heads, the catkins, grasses. I think these are going to look really good on the mantelpiece. And it definitely shows what January looks like in the garden. Thank you so much for joining me this month. I'm looking forward to welcoming you back in February, when the preparations for the summer really begin. See you soon.